Hi there, Victor Pross here, anarchist artist. Coming to you in sepia tones, because I am an artist and I like, different colors, including black and white, which aren't considered to be colors. Anyway, today, very briefly, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the objections that we can run into when we engage with our fellow creatures who are still lock, stock, barrel, and emotionally and intellectually invested in statism, either by default or by conviction. One of the objections that we constantly receive, like a hamster on a wheel, repeated over and over and over ad nauseum, is that once you start talking about anarchism and the whole idea of a stateless society, can send chills up people's spines. You become morally suspect. You become viewed maybe as somebody who isn't carrying a full deck, and you might, worse than that, might be thought as somebody where your cheese fell off your cracker. But of course, volunteers and philosophical anarchists know themselves to be very much in their right mind. Just because we go against the popular trends and contrary wisdom and the status quo does not mean that we are Looney Tunes. We are not quite yet candidates for the shopping cart pushing, tin foil hat wearing cadre. Far from it. Anarchists are not necessarily conspiracy theorists. We know, simply and forwardly, with crystal clarity, that the government is an agency of violence. It initiates violence. It is an institution that is evil at the root because of that. It's not an institution where it has a legitimate purpose and an institution that can become corrupt. It is an institution that is corrupt by the very nature of the institution. Because there is no government in history that has established itself by voluntary choice and contractual arrangements, by mutual cooperation, mutual benefit. It is not a collection of people who have assembled and come together to agree on this thing. A government has all governments, everywhere in history, for all time, around the globe, wherever there are governments, whenever there have been governments, whenever there will be governments again, always establish themselves by the sword, the gun, the fist, the club, brute force, and they maintain themselves by the same means. Therefore, we know morally and intellectually with absolute certainty that we are right. So, nevertheless, keeping that center in your mind, when you do come across objections, and you will come across objections, you will come across rather heated, belittling, demeaning, sarcastic, derisive, snarky, laughing, hostile, red veins popping out of the forehead and neck, angry people. Beware of that now if you have not engaged yet. Expect it. It's coming your way if you pursue these ideas with any kind of vigor. One of the objections that you will always constantly receive, broadly speaking, very broadly speaking, when you start talking about a stateless society, the first thing that comes to people's minds is that all the services that are now imposed, whether it be public schooling, the fire department, education, as I say, medicine, police protection or police services and enforcement of certain laws or this type of thing. They think that all of that will be eradicated. All of that will be eradicated, and then it will be nothing left but a state of nature. It will be Lord of the Flies, Deuces Wild, do as you wish, run amok, mohawk wearing, Travis Bickle, you talking to me? You talking to me kind of vigilanteism. This is not the case at all. I'll have to do another video as to why that would not necessarily be the case at all. But for now, just to realize that when you start talking about a stateless society, that's the type of things that comes to people's mind. So, one of the objections that you, for example, will come across is, well, what about the roads? I mean, there's a lot of variety here. There's, what about the poor? What about the aged? What about? But just taking the what about the roads argument, which could equally apply to what about anything else in a market. But you have to understand, you must understand, as I'm sure you do, that governments do not create nothing. They are not magic elves who have money springing from their assholes. All the money, the resources, the blood, the sweat, the toil, everything that represents that dollar, your time, your energy, your brain power, your muscle power, everything that money represents as a medium of exchange, they do not produce that. They do not produce that. The government has nothing. The government is broke. Repeat after me. The government is broke. Okay? It does not have money. It never had money. It just expropriates money that has been created by other people, by the population at hand, and they distribute it as they see fit. They expropriate and then distribute back into an economy from which they have expropriated from. And then they call the shots, they impose the services,